Hey everyone, it's Ashley, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. It is officially the middle of the year. I have actually completed my reading challenge for the year already, my Goodreads reading challenge of reading 36 books. So I'm feeling pretty great about that, and I'm just going to keep on reading and loving what I'm reading. But it is the middle of the year, and so it is appropriate for me to do this tag, and it just is good timing because I'm getting into the swing of doing more videos now that baby is home and healthy and everything. So I just felt like this was an appropriate video to get me back into the swing of things. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and talk about some of the books that I've read so far this year. Question number 1 is the best book you've read so far this year, and I'm actually picking 2 for this because I can't choose between the 2, and so just F it. I'm going to tell you about both of them. The first one is one I'm going to be talking about a lot in this video because I loved it so much, and that is How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake. This book is about a girl who is discovering, or sort of coming to terms with rather, the sexual identity that she has found for herself and has cemented herself within. So she's coming to terms with that, and it's also about her relationship with her very dysfunctional mother and the terrible fights they've been getting into and how she keeps letting her down. And I really loved this book. It hit so many important points for me. I really liked Grace as a character. I really loved Ashley Herring Blake's writing. I felt like I was very much in Grace's head, and it felt like the way I would talk. It was just a very relatable writing. It was very accessible, and so it was so easy to get through. As you can see, I had a lot of feelings about it and a lot of important things that I loved about it based on all these tabs that I did. I'm thinking I'm going to post a full review of this on my channel because I have so much to say about it, but obviously I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it so much. I highly recommend this if you're looking for an LGBT read. It's amazing. It does everything perfectly in my opinion. My other best read so far this year is I Have Lost My Way by Gail Forman, which I don't have a copy of because I'm lending it out to my mom right now. I went into this with kind of middling expectations. Didn't love the last thing I read by Gail Forman, which was her adult book, which I can't remember the name of right now. That's how much I was very meh about it, I don't even remember the title of it. And so I was really wary about this, but I ended up loving it so much. It tells the story of these 3 different young adults who are all in sort of a life crisis mode, and they all meet by happenstance in New York, and it's about this just one day. It's not even a full day, it's like half a day, a couple hours, and about them getting through their crisis together and helping each other through it. And all of them have a really interesting backstory. They're all super interesting and just heartbreaking, and I loved it so much. I read it in 2 sittings within the same day, and I highly recommend it. It's so good. Gail Forman doing YA just is the best. She shouldn't leave YA. It's so amazing when she writes YA. I love it so much. Question 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and I've only read about 3 or 4 sequels this year, and the best one by far out of all of them was The Book of Life, which is the 3rd book in the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. I liked this book so much better than number 2. Number 2, it dragged for me, and it took a long time for the author to get somewhere with it, basically. I was bored for a lot of it. At the same time, I was interested because it took place in the past, but like too much in the past, and she just, like I said, took too much time explaining things, and I got lost a lot of time. This, however, the action starts pumping up again in this, and it's fantastic. It made me so angsty, and it made me feel so many things so often. I was just turning the pages, freaking out about so many things that were happening, and I fell in love with a couple characters that I didn't expect to fall in love with, and I can't really tell you more than that because it's the 3rd book in a trilogy, so you kind of have to read all of them, or at least the first 2 for me to even begin talking about this, or you will get lost. Trust me, you will be absolutely confused as to what the hell is going on. This is a fantasy and adult fantasy book with witches, vampires, demons, history, love, magic. It has everything. Everything you could ever want in a book is in this series, and I 5 out of 5, 100% recommend it. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and I have 2 for this again. The first is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli, and the second is Save the Date by Morgan Matson. Both these books are out already. They came out within the last 2 months. I don't own a copy of them, but they are high on my list. I love Morgan Matson, love every contemporary she's put out, and Becky Albertalli I haven't read yet, but apparently this main character is bisexual, which is a big buzzword for me, so I am very much looking forward to that one. Question 4 is most anticipated new release for the second half of the year. I have 2 for this one too. First is My Plain Jane. Oh my god, My Lady Jane was fantastic. I read it last year in an audiobook, and it cracked me up. It was by far the most funny book I read last year. Top 5 favorite books of last year. So high expectations for this. The second book is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. Obvious reasons. It's the newest Cassandra Clare release. Can't wait for it. Question 6 is biggest disappointment. And this hands down has to go to A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is a novella, takes place after the events of the first trilogy. Very disappointing. I have a whole review of it for Goodreads that I'll link down below. But this just was a waste of my time, honestly, and I rated it like 2 out of 5 stars. Next question is biggest surprise. And for this, I'm going to pick the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I had read the first one, The Deal, about 3 years ago, and I kind of forgot about the series. I don't read much new adult books, so it kind of fell off my radar. And then I was home pregnant for so long, and so the new adult books really, I sped through them, and I got through them so fast. They were so addicting and so distracting. And then I rediscovered and re-remembered Elle Kennedy, and those off-campus books, there are 4 of them. They're so good. They're like super addictive. Each one is different. Each like male and female main character is very different. I love them so much. They just had me invested and hooked, and I loved the way each romance builds, and they have these really amazing romantic and sexy times in them. So if you're looking for a new adult series to pick up, I really highly recommend Off Campus by Elle Kennedy. It's really great, and some really great new adult writing as well that is just deeper than I was expecting, to be honest. Question 7 is a favorite new author. This could be new to you or debut author. For me, this is Ashley Herring Blake. I finished this, like I said, not that long ago, and super loved it, loved everything about it. I read the synopses of her other 2 books, Girl Made of Stars and Suffer Love, and especially Girl Made of Stars sounds so fantastic. Again, with the bookish buzzwords, it has like a sexual assault crisis in it, and one of the characters is LGBTQ, and there's just so many amazing things going on in that one. And then I discovered that I have a copy of it electronically on my Kindle from NetGalley that I forgot about, so I'm going to be reading that like immediately as soon as I'm done filming this. And I have really high expectations for both of them, and she's just definitely a new favorite author of mine. Even though I've only read one of her books, it just was so impactful that like I'm already considering her a new favorite author. So again, please go read this book. Question 8 is a new fictional crush, and for me this is Gallowglass from the All Souls trilogy, who you won't know unless you've read the second book. He doesn't come in, I don't think, until the second book. My love for him just grew exponentially and in unexpected ways in this third book. Things happen in this one that make my heart ache for him and break for him, and I love him and he's precious and I want only good things for him, and I just cannot with him. He is too much and too great, and I just love everything about him and every word he says, and he needs to be okay. He needs to be happy and okay. That's all I want from future Deborah Harkness books, is to know that Gallowglass is happy and wonderful, because he's perfect. Question 9 is newest favorite character, and for me this is Cassian. I'm picking Cassian kind of unexpectedly because despite not liking A Court of Frost and Starlight, he was the one aspect of that book that I came out really liking and wanting more of. I also read A Court of Wings and Ruin earlier this year as well, and he was also one of my favorite aspects of that book, especially considering after Akamath, I was kind of like on the fence about him. Like I didn't really, like I liked him and I didn't want anything bad to happen to him necessarily, but I was like, alright, he exists, and now I'm just like, similarly to with Gallowglass, I just want good things for him, and I want him to be happy and healthy and wonderful, and if he is not, I'm going to be very mad at Sarah, because he deserves just all the happiness in the world. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. For me, this is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, which I don't currently have a copy of because I'm lending it out. This book is short, but it packs a punch at so many different turns. I was emotional and crying over this book, but it was so good. It was like it took a part of my heart with me when I had finished it. It was amazing. Every single word was super well chosen and just was a very interesting character exploration, and I love it so much. We Are Okay is a book about this girl who just started her first year of college, and during winter break she hasn't seen anybody from her hometown. She hasn't talked to anybody. She barely talks to anybody at school, and during winter break one of her best friends, Marin, comes to visit, and they sort of hash out whatever happened to make her not talk to anybody and completely break off all her relationships, and they spend a couple days together, just the two of them, and it is amazing. It is an amazing, just wonderful exploration of character, like I said. 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend it. It made me so emotional in so many ways and definitely made me cry. The next question is a book that made you happy, and again, I'm picking How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake, and I'm picking it because it made me happy because of the representation in it and the story that it told. It made me feel seen, it made me feel important. It's an important book. Please go read it. I love it. It makes me happy. Question 12 is a favorite film adaptation of a book that you saw. And I don't have one that's a film, but I did see the Little Women mini-series on PBS. And it was fantastic. I loved it. It was so lovely. My mom and I watched it overnight, a couple nights in a row, right after bringing my baby home. It was what kept us awake during the night when Tilly was awake. I loved it. I love the movie a lot, and so I had kind of low expectations for this. But this was really great. Like, it's on par for me with the movie. The acting was great. I love that it was longer, so it could tell more of a story. And I super loved it. I would give it like an A-, honestly. Question 13 is favorite review you've written. I've only done full, huge, long reviews on Goodreads of a couple, and they're not particularly like my favorites. So I don't really have an answer for this question, unfortunately. Question 13 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received. And for this one, it is The Landscapes of Anne of Green Gables, which I've lent out to somebody, so I don't have a copy of again. But it's this beautiful book that talks about Prince Edward Island, and it has full color photos in it, and it talks about Ellen Montgomery's relationship to the island. Has some journal entries from her and some photographs that she took in it, and it's just gorgeous. It's a big coffee table size book, and it's beautiful. I'm a huge Anne fan, and so this gave me all the feels when I read it and saw all the pictures. And lastly, question 15, what are some books that you need to read by the end of this year? I do have a top 10 TBR for the year that I posted on my blog, which I'll leave a link to down below. Some of the last ones that are left, I've read half of them, are Daughter Smoke and Bone trilogy, Just One Year, Kirsten Gillibrand's biography Off the Sidelines, Biography of Cleopatra by Stacey Schiff, and the Grishy trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. And if you want to see my reasons for putting those on my top 10 TBR, like I said, go check out my blog post down below. And that's it. That's the mid-year book freakout tag. If you're interested in doing this, consider yourself tagged by me and leave a link to your video in the comments below if you end up doing it. And let me know what one of your favorite books is that you've read so far this year in the comments below as well. And feel free to subscribe if you want to see more from me. Happy reading!